Ever been on the receiving end of something that just wasn't up to scratch? Like maybe a service fell short or, I don't know, a product break way too
Well,
soon?
definitely. We've all been there.
Yeah, that feeling, that frustration, it really hits home why quality matters so much, doesn't it? I mean, everywhere. From like small, everyday things right up to, critical stuff like healthcare.
Absolutely. And it's more than just being disappointed. In areas like healthcare or manufacturing, quality, well, it impacts safety, how things run, even people's lives sometimes, which is why the role we're digging into today is just so vital.
Exactly. Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. This is where we take a really close look at something important, try to give you a clearer picture of why it counts.
And today we're diving into the pretty complex world of a quality head or manager in an organization.
Yeah, and forget just ticking boxes, right? This is about actually setting high standards and always pushing to do better. It doesn't really matter what industry.
Hmm. And to really get a handle on this, we've pulled together some interesting sources. We actually have job descriptions for roles like quality assurance specialist, quality control manager.
And quality assurance manager, too. So real world stuff.
Exactly. Gives you a practical feel for the work.
We also spent some time with a transcript from the QI Playbook podcast. QI being quality improvement, obviously.
Right. And that one really gets into the nitty-gritty, especially in healthcare, about how organizations actually work to improve.
Then we looked at websites too, didn't we? Places focused on quality standards, accreditation, like JCI.
Yeah, Joint Commission International,
Yeah.
and also NABH, that's the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals and Healthcare Providers. They set really important benchmarks.
Okay, so our mission for you today is pretty straightforward, really. We want to give you a clear, kind of comprehensive picture of what a quality head or manager actually does.
What skills they need, the challenges they run into, the real deal.
Yeah, valuable insights, hopefully, without getting you too bogged down in like super technical stuff. Okay, let's get into it then.
So the first thing that really jumps out, especially from the QI playbook, is that this person, the quality head or manager, they're like the central hub for quality improvement, the linchpin.
The linchpin, I like that. The
Right.
central driver.
Both-
Yeah. So they're setting the direction for quality for the whole place.
Pretty much. They establish specific, measurable goals and standards for quality. And it's not just plucked out of thin air.
No,
Really.
it has to connect back.
Exactly. It has to align with the organization's overall mission, its vision.
So like in a hospital setting, maybe.
Well, yeah. The quality head there might set goals around, say, improving patient satisfaction scores. That's a big one.
Sure, direct experience.
Or maybe reducing readmission rates, patients coming back soon after they leave. That says something about how effective the treatment was.
Right. And they don't just set the goals and walk away, presumably.
Oh, definitely not. They're right in the thick of it. Designing the initiatives, the plans, then implementing them, and crucially, monitoring how well they're actually working.
And making sure everyone's involved. Stakeholders.
Absolutely key. You need buy-in from people who have a stake in the outcome.
Makes sense. And it sounds very data-driven. The QI playbook mentioned that.
Hugely. Yeah, they're constantly gathering and analyzing KPIs, key performance indicators. That's how they understand what's really happening on the ground.
To make smart decisions about improving things.
Exactly. But, the trick is picking the right KPIs. That came up too.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's easy to just measure what's, easy to measure.
Rather than what actually shows quality. Yeah, I can see that.
And they don't do this alone in a corner office. They lead teams, right? Often cross-functional teams.
Meaning people from different departments.
Yeah. You could have clinical staff, admin folks, operations people, all needing to collaborate. So those communication skills have to be top-notch, understanding different perspectives.
And teaching people, too. You mentioned training.
Big part of it. They educate staff on different quality improvement methods. Things like Lean for efficiency or Six Sigma for reducing errors.
Trying to build a quality culture, I guess.
That's the goal. Making everyone feel responsible for quality, understanding why it matters.
And then there's the compliance side, keeping things above board.
Oh, absolutely critical. They're the guardians, making sure the organization follows all the relevant standards, regulations.
Which includes preparing for those big accreditation surveys, like JCI or NABH.
Yep. That's often a massive undertaking. Those bodies are like independent auditors, checking that standards for safety and quality are met. It gives patients confidence.
And it's not just a one-off exam they cram for.
No. It's continuous. Constant monitoring, constant improvement. Quality has to be embedded, part of the organization's DNA.
And this isn't just healthcare, right? Our other sources talked about standards for product services.
That's right. Establishing and enforcing standards across the board. Products, services, internal processes, you name it.
They're also the go-to person when things go wrong. Quality issues.
Yeah, they're usually the main point person for resolving quality-related problems, often working closely with other teams to figure out solutions.
So it's reactive, but also proactive, like involved in planning.
Definitely. They can be heavily involved in strategic planning, making sure quality's baked into the long-term goals, helping develop improvement plans.
And reporting up, I assume. Keeping people informed.
Communication is vital. Preparing reports, making sure stakeholders, management, everyone needs to know is kept in the loop on quality, performance, and progress.
Okay, so that paints a pretty clear picture of the quality head or manager. But, the job titles, they can get a bit murky sometimes, can't they?
They really can.
Let's maybe clarify by looking at some of those related roles from the job descriptions. The specialist, the control manager, the assurance manager.
Good idea. Let's start with a quality assurance specialist. What's their main focus?
Well, it looks like they're really focused on developing and implementing the QA policies, the procedures. They seem to be the ones often doing the actual testing, the inspections, trying to pinpoint issues.
Right, so quite hands-on in the doing part of QA, making sure processes are set up and followed. Okay? How's that different from a quality control manager?
The QC manager seems much more focused on, the manufacturing floor, making sure products meet standards and efficiency targets.
So very production-oriented.
Yeah. Understanding what the client wants, quality-wise, telling the production teams.
Supervising them, maybe?
Could be. And checking the raw materials coming in, inspecting the final product, deciding if it passes muster.
And probably thinking about how to make the manufacturing process itself better, more efficient, higher quality.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay, so that's QC. Then we have the quality assurance manager. Where do they fit?
This one feels a bit broader, maybe bridging the gap. They're involved in setting the wider quality regulations for products and for the employees making them.
Analyzing data, too, looking for improvements.
Yeah, data analysis for improvement. And there's a big people element, it seems.
Or so.
Helping with recruitment, training staff on quality, motivating the workforce, really focusing on getting the team committed.
And keeping clients happy.
Right, meeting client needs. And they also create reports, track progress, spot trends.
Okay, so if I'm hearing this right, while they're all connected to quality, the head or manager role seems, more strategic, kind of overseeing everything.
That's how it feels, yeah. More overarching, setting the big picture vision, making sure all these different quality functions, assurance, control work together effectively.
Got it. Now, to do that kind of overarching job well, you'd need a pretty impressive set of skills, wouldn't you? The QI playbook touched on this. Leadership has to be key.
Oh, absolutely essential. You've got to motivate teams, inspire them, get everyone pulling in the same direction towards those quality goals. Without that leadership, change is hard.
Yeah, and then problem solving, analytical thinking.
Crucial. Quality improvement is all about finding problems, digging into why they happen, like using those fishbone diagrams you mentioned earlier.
Root cause stuff.
Exactly. And then figuring out how to fix them properly.
And talking to people. Communication must be huge.
Nonstop. Interacting with different departments, different levels. Yeah. You need to articulate that quality vision clearly, engage everyone. It's vital.
And managing all the different initiatives. Sounds like project management skills are needed, too.
Definitely. Setting goals, managing timelines, handling resources, especially if you've got multiple improvement projects on the go.
And they absolutely have to know the rules, right? The standards, regulations.
Non-negotiable. Deep knowledge. ISO standards, NABH, JCI, whatever applies to their industry. They have to be the expert to assure compliance.
And because quality often means change. Change management skills.
Really important, yeah. Guiding the organization through transitions, dealing with resistance, helping people adapt.
The job descriptions also mention things like attention to detail, being observant, organized.
All those came up. Makes sense. You need to spot the small things sometimes and stay organized with everything going on.
Plus the technical side, analyzing data, creating reports. That seems increasingly important.
For sure. Making informed decisions relies heavily on good data analysis and clear reporting.
Wow. So it's quite a mix. You need the soft skills, leadership, communication, but also the hard skills like data analysis and knowing the regs.
Exactly. A really multifaceted skill set for a multifaceted role.
It sounds pretty challenging, actually. Which I guess brings us neatly to the challenges these folks typically face.
Yeah, and there are definitely a few common ones. The QI playbook highlighted resistance to change as a big one.
People sticking to what they know.
Pretty much. Introducing new processes, new ways of working. It can meet reluctance. You need good strategies, good people skills to overcome that. Getting key people involved early often helps build that buy-in.
And resources, always an issue, I imagine.
Often, yeah. Limited budgets, maybe not enough staff. Quality heads need to be really resourceful, prioritize carefully to get the biggest bang for their buck.
What about all that data we talked about? Can that be a challenge too?
It can be overwhelming. Data overload is real. There's just so much information flying around.
So the challenge is finding the signal in the noise, focusing on what matters.
Precisely. Identifying those few key metrics that genuinely drive improvement and not getting lost in everything else. You need clear goals to guide what you measure.
Right, and balancing short-term versus long-term, like getting ready for an inspection versus building a lasting quality culture.
That's a constant balancing act. Yeah. Easy to get sucked into the immediate deadlines like that accreditation survey and maybe lose sight of the bigger long-term picture.
And getting everyone on board, engaging all the stakeholders.
Always a challenge, but always critical. From the top leadership down to the frontline staff, everyone needs to understand why quality improvement matters and feel like they're part of it.
It really does keep coming back to leadership and communication, doesn't it?
It seems to underpin so much of it, bringing people along, showing the benefits, fostering that shared commitment.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit now. Talk about the wider world of quality, accreditation. We mentioned JCI and NABH earlier.
Right, so Joint Commission International, JCI, their website makes it clear they're a global leader. Healthcare quality, patient safety. Their mission is all about enabling and confirming the highest standards.
And they operate worldwide.
Yeah, big footprint. Accrediting and certifying over 1,000 programs, I think it was, in more than 70 countries. Shows how universal these quality standards are becoming in healthcare.
And then NABH, that's specific to India.
Yes, the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals and Healthcare Providers, part of the Quality Council of India. Their website shows they set up and run accreditation programs specifically for Indian healthcare organizations.
Focusing on patient needs, setting benchmarks for the industry there.
Exactly.
It's interesting seeing these formal structures, international and national, pushing for higher quality through standards and checks. We also saw Supremedic Consultancy.
Ah, yes. They're an example of a company that actually helps hospitals get through that NABH accreditation process, offering support, guidance, navigating the complexities.
Which can be pretty complex, I imagine.
No doubt. And then there's iSquad, too.
Right. The International Society for Quality in Healthcare. What's their role?
They're another global player, member-based, nonprofit. Their whole focus, according to their site, is promoting quality improvement in healthcare worldwide. They do it through education, sharing knowledge, external evaluations. Again, working across 70-plus countries, been around for over 30 years.
So you've got this whole ecosystem, really. Global bodies, national boards, consultants, all pushing for better quality and safety.
And the quality head or managers right in the middle of it, aren't they? They're the ones making it happen on the ground.
Implementing the standards, driving that improvement cycle. Yeah, they're the essential link.
Absolutely. Connecting the big frameworks to the actual delivery of care or services.
Okay. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's really clear, isn't it? The quality head or manager role, it's way more than just admin.
Oh, definitely. It's a critical leadership role. Needs that wide range of skills, needs resilience to tackle those challenges we talked about.
You're setting the quality compass for the whole organization, leading improvements, making sure things are compliant.
And trying to build that culture where quality is just, how things are done. A core value, not just a department.
Yeah. And thinking about all this, it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? How might these principles, setting standards, continuously improving, dealing with resistance, apply outside of a big company?
Like in our own lives or our own work, whatever fields we're in.
Exactly. What standards do we set for ourselves? How do we push ourselves to get better? And how do we handle our own, internal resistance when we try to make a positive change?
That's a really interesting thought to chew on, the personal side of quality improvement.
Definitely something to think about. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive today.